Another very back and forth game against Iowa tonight. The Spartans ultimately find a way, which happens a lot with Tom Izzo teams, and this felt like a pretty classic Tom Izzo win. Patrick, what'd you make of this one?
Well, I gotta start off here. You just start the show off with shots fired, just all across the board. Just have them in the can and going at TO, going at the Big Ten. I'm just like, whoa, hey, that is not. I may share some opinions with G Wizzy, but I won't just blatantly throw them out there to start the day off.
That's fair. That's fair. You can save your hot opinions for the afters. I just wanted to set the tone.
No,
I'm so used to.
I want to ease the audience in, and then give the hot takes as we go. But to your point, this was an awesome grit out win for State. I mean, you hold Chris Murray to 11 points and 0 from the 3-point line, guy that's been a first team Big Ten all season long. Fantastic job. Defensively, you turn turnovers into points. That's what you have to do. Iowa was right there. I mean, literally drawing up whatever they drew up at the last 8 seconds of the game. You get looks that you want to potentially win that game. 2 of them actually off of offensive rebound there as well. Shots didn't fall. Good to see Michigan State make some 3-pointers. I thought they weren't a 3-point making team at all at one point, but at home anything can happen. The rims are a little bit wider. Great statement win for Michigan State to build that resume.
Yeah, I like the final set, the jump pass to Peyton Sanford. It worked out. Jim, you like that one?
Oh yeah. It's not somebody go at you and say it was a bad, poorly coached final possession. They got a great shot. I thought they got a great look to go for the win there.
Yeah, wholeheartly agree. I forget what the word was from one of the people in my mentions on Twitter tonight, but good set.
What's the debate there? Do you would you naturally call a timeout there or just keep going? Because Mississippi State was in a position last night where I really thought Chris Jans should have called a timeout to draw something up, and it was an awful last set. And the player actually got confused and took a 2-pointer when it should have been a 3. And he's frustrated. I'm like, man, well, you could have drew something up.
Yeah, I thought they kind of did it right here. He let him run for a little bit to see if they had something quick. And eventually McCaffrey had the ball with 8 seconds left at the top of the key and was like, nope, we're not getting anything. So let's go to the huddle and figure it out.
It's kind of personnel oriented there too, right? Like when you think of this Iowa team, Chris Murray, fantastic player, not necessarily a guy who's just going to say, give me the ball, get out of the way. Let me go get one here. So I like that from Fran as well. And ultimately, I mean, dials up arguably his best shooter, 2 wide open chances to win the game. For the record, he hit not only those 2, he hit a third in the final 90 seconds to beat my Michigan Wolverines. Couldn't hit the open one tonight to steal it at the Breslin Center, but them's the breaks, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk a little bigger picture with this Michigan State team, though, because it's a pretty polarizing team, especially within Michigan State circles themselves. Obviously, pretty much all Michigan State teams take on the personality of Tom Izzo at some point in the season. I think the backcourt, especially, you can feel the quote-unquote dog in them nature of A.J. Hoggard and Tyson Walker this year. In most of their good wins, those 2 have been brilliant, both eye test wise and production wise. Tonight was not the case. I thought this was a pretty poor game from the Michigan State backcourt, and it's really one of the first games this season that they've won when that backcourt has not played well. Jim, what do you make of that?
Welcome back, Malik Hall. That feels like a big part of that. I don't know where that came from. We had the quotes earlier this week from Izzo that he was a ways away and wasn't going to be ready to go. And then suddenly pregame, he was warming up. He's out there, he's playing, and he was a huge contributor. I didn't think he'd be able to give him 25 good minutes, but he did. And you get that extra offensive option that takes some of that burden off of Hoggard and Walker. They're constantly the ones that are having to make plays, but they got a couple plays made for them. I know Hoggard hit a 3 off a Malik Hall offensive rebound, really high activity level for him. And the on-off number stuff for Hall over the course of the season is staggering. Like Hoop Explorer and Hoop Lens have them about 15 points better per 100 possessions when he's out there. Just really adds an extra element. You can play smaller if you want to, or even when you're bigger, you've got more versatility, and he's a great shooter. So Patrick, I think with him back, I'm really buying Michigan State. Like most of their poor performances have been when they're shorthanded without him. And when he's in there, that team's really tough.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on just the instant impact, let alone I just wonder if when you have such a poor shooting night with your guards, overall 39% shooting night from the field. And I'm looking, I'm a big numbers guy in the sense of what's the big picture here? 5 of 17 from layups, and understand there's a lot of the contested baskets there, but it shows that there are quality looks getting into for this state team, just not falling. And who can be more somebody reliable to get to the hoop and to finish, and Malik Hall was that guy today. Someone coming off the bench that there was nobody that had a spectacular game. 10, 12, 11, 10, 7, 11 points. So that bringing that extra boost, those 11 points was the difference maker.
Yeah, there were a lot of guys on the periphery of this Michigan State team, role player types that I thought excelled tonight. Mady Sissoko being one of them, a double-double in 26 minutes. He's been really, really struggling over the last 2 weeks. He had the big games early in the season against Gonzaga in the Champions Classic, where he's up against two of the best centers in the country, and Drew Timme and Oscar Tshiebwe. And I don't want to say he held his own, because those guys still did what they do, but he looked like a Big Ten starting center in those games. He was not punked. He was not forced out by physicality with Oscar. He at least hit the boards and held up production-wise against Timme. That hasn't been there in the first half of Big Ten play. So for them to get 26 minutes from him tonight, that was critical, because then you don't have to turn to the freshman bigs, Kohler and Cooper, who at this point just don't look ready for this type of conference. And then the other guy is Jaden Akins. I mean, you talk about backcourt stuff. He's a guy that has really now in his sophomore year been pushed out of position, in my opinion, down to the wing, where most of the time he's guarding the opposing team's best bigger wing. I think he's a guy who could be really dynamic with the ball in his hands. He had a couple good driving kicks tonight, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. So when you're getting that type of production from the extra guys, that's when Michigan State becomes dangerous to me. When they're really just a two-headed monster of Hoggard and Walker, that's when I kind of roll my eyes a little bit. But then again, with Tom Izzo, you can never really count them out, right, Pat? Because we've seen this. I mean, now what? This is 20 plus years of Tom Izzo teams start to just creep along, and maybe they're under the radar, and all of a sudden things start clicking into January, early February.
Tournament Tom. I just right now with AJ Hogan and Tyson, I love what they bring to the table, and especially when you're looking at Coach Izzo, what he's bringing out of those guys. I just don't think there are a dynamic enough backcourt within themselves to dominate, to make the tournament. Absolutely. Those extra pieces are essential for a Tom Izzo type team that's going to grit like these games in the 60s. That is right now with a team that doesn't shoot it so well from the three. That's what you're looking for. Those grit out games. Every game that the State's been in has been fairly close. I mean, they're just so close from stealing that early game against Gonzaga, just right there. And that's why I was thinking about when we were talking about our segments for tonight. It's like has State shown that they're trending in the right direction enough to be that tournament team to make a run to finish top 5 in the Big Ten? And I believe so. I believe so, especially with Malik Hall on his way back and showing what he did tonight, seeing that they can knock down the 3-point ball, seeing that they can defend without fouling. But man, side note, I am so baffled with the block charge call, and I'm sure we all are. But I have just been so frustrated this season. I don't even know what to think anymore. I would have fouled out every single game, and I don't know what I would have done. I just had to get that out because it's just been so frustrating to watch this whole season.